Welcome to Every Woman Has a Story on WEBN. Tonight's show is dedicated to college graduates and highlights the importance of networking. Our guests belong to the Emerson College community. Bianca Jiron is an assistant in the journalism department, and Carol Spector is the director of career services. Both work closely with students and are instrumental in steering them towards professional success. Thank you for joining us. So tonight we have Carol Spector and Bianca Jiron, and we are talking about networking. Ladies, how would you describe networking?
Well, I describe networking as connecting with other people in and outside of your field.
Carol?
I would agree. I think it's a chance for students to meet other people and find out information about the field and learn about what's happening in the areas they're interested in.
So let's talk about the opportunities available within career services. I know of the New York connection and the resume building workshops. Can you describe that for me, what that entails?
Sure. Well, for resume workshops or resume assistants, students can come in and meet with one of our individual counselors and go over their resume, have a critique done on what they've written, also their cover letter, and get a sense of how they might want to revise that or maybe even alter it depending on who they might be sending it to. For the New York Connection trip, it's a trip we do every year in March. We take 2 busloads of students to New York for the day, and they visit a couple different work sites. So alumni host these, and they open up their doors and explain to the students about their workplace, what they do. They give them a tour of the facilities. And it's a chance to network with those people and meet other alums who are in the field that they're interested in.
Wow. That's a really great way to meet people.
It is.
Would you say that you assist students with job placement and help them explore as many opportunities as they can before they leave Emerson?
We do, yes. So we try to reach out to students to come into our office early on, whether it's freshman or sophomore year. And with that in mind, it's more of helping them figure out what they want to do for internships or other practical experience they can get before they graduate. So helping them find a summer opportunity or an internship during the school year and give them ideas about what they can explore and then figure out what they want to do from there as going to the next step.
Wow. Would you say that, and this is really a question for both of you, would you say that in today's industry it is more about personal merit or it's about connections?
I think it's both, actually. I think it's, you definitely have to have the skills required for the job and you need to have the knowledge for the industry that you're in, but I think it also assists you to meet other people in the field and have that personal contact to build your network.
Bianca?
I absolutely agree. Personal merit's very important. Knowing how to do your job is really important, obviously, but also networking, like we said, is really important because you get to know who the other people are in your field, and it's about building friendships with other people and just, building bridges and not burning bridges, obviously.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you know if you're not willing to do the job the way it should be done.
Correct.
It's not, networking is really a foot in the door. So you kind of have to have your own merit as well. What would you say is a good time to start networking? Is there an age that's appropriate, or?
I think networking right away, right out the door, building connections, building friendships, getting to know the people that you're in school with, getting to know your professors, getting to know alumni who come to campus or who connect with professors. It's really important to just start building connections as soon as possible because you never know who you're going to run into in the future.
And I know that a lot of students want to network and reach out, but a lot of people or kids have a little bit of intimidation and nerves about it. What would you say to combat that?
I think I certainly understand how students can feel about that, and I think it's helpful to start with people that you know first. So whether it be a faculty member, maybe go to their office hours and talk to them a little bit about what you want to do, and do they have someone else in mind that they can suggest you talk to? Or they could certainly come to career services and maybe we can identify 1 or 2 alumni who are typically in the area or who might be coming to campus for a presentation and guide them and give them some suggestions on what they might say to this person so that they start out small and feel more comfortable with that approach.
Would you say that networking is a place to not just, access personal gains for your own agenda, but sort of to build a support system among the students and faculty?
I think it is. I think it is a way to, as you were saying, to build friendships and get to know more people. Sometimes it also helps students understand other areas of the field that they're interested in that they may not have been aware of as freshmen and sophomores. So I think it gives them a better sense of knowledge of the field that they're interested in, or maybe what they don't want to do. And I think it can just expose them to different ideas about the areas.
Bianca?
Yeah.
I think building friendships with people and networking can also benefit a student, because then maybe they need a mentor in the future, or maybe they need an answer to something that they never thought they would, they never thought they had a question about. So I'd say, not just getting the foot in the door, but, having friendships and, building your base for potential mentors is important.
Yeah. Well, college can be so daunting to begin with. I feel like if you get the right mentor from the get-go, you get someone that can sort of navigate you, you can almost achieve a level of refinement by the time you're ready to graduate, just because they help tell you, I can help you do this. And so would you agree with that?
Yeah, and you don't have to have just one mentor. You can have several mentors, whether they're at your university, whether they're people you work with in your internship, just really anybody who could give you advice and just help you along your career path. It can be a mentor.
Carol?
I definitely agree with the idea of having more than one mentor. I think what we try to do again is connect students to potential employers and to alumni who are in the field that they're interested in, and then have them develop those relationships with those people. And some people you might click with more, and it's strictly about the industry and what to do. Some people might give you more personal advice or other kind of professional development advice. So it depends on the person, on what kind of relationship you build with them, and they can all be beneficial.
Is it a sort of risky line though? Because do you want to keep it strictly professional? Do you just want to keep it personal? How do you balance it too?
That's a good question. Sometimes there's a combination, and I think it's personal but not too far from professional. So maybe it's a little more about a life mentor, life development. How are you managing with these assignments, or with your roommates, or with being away for the summer, or some of those other kinds of things that maybe aren't only professional in your industry, but a little bit more about life as you're developing in the 4 years you're here.
So there really are kind of different branches of networking.
Yeah.
The different types of ways to network and along your path. So what would you say? I know Career Services offers a lot of opportunities for students. They help them find internships, they edit their resumes. How can students maximize their potential and take advantage of this?
Well, again, I think it's important to try to connect with us early on if you can. One of the things that we do is we have an internship fair every semester, where there's about 50 employers that come to campus and advertise their internship opportunities. And it is every semester. Students can come each semester if they want, and they can come as early as freshman year. And honestly, sometimes first year students will come in almost just to practice talking to employers, to get a sense of what is this all about, or how do I do this. And I think it's not a bad idea to come in, maybe try it on first, so that you're more prepared as you're a little more serious about talking to employers or setting up an internship for yourself.
Would you say there are disadvantages to networking as a student?
I think networking is such an important part of getting an internship or getting a job. I don't see any disadvantages to, talking to someone who you think might be able to help you with something, or going on LinkedIn and adding someone who might be able to help you. I think it's mostly just positive.
Carol, you would agree?
I would agree, yeah. The only negative is if someone isn't appropriately networking with, not respecting people's time or not following up if they need to. But I think it's important to network as much as you feel comfortable with.
Well, I think that's what I mean by networking as a student, because you know, maybe if someone's networking and they're not at the level of maturity where they really are aware that this could affect their career, they may not take it seriously. And in that case, would you say it could be detrimental?
I think one of the ways you learn how to network is by doing it. So maybe if you start out networking and you kind of don't know, it's always important to just make sure that you have a basic respect for the other person you're networking with. And then I think it can go well from there. If you come off as pushy or mean or whatever, it's again one of those basic human things. You have to respect the other person that you're working with. So
You would agree, Carol?
Yeah, those are some very good tips, I think, to follow as someone is starting to network. And you have to practice it. You have to just do it. You learn by doing it. But I think, again, if you try it with a few people that you are somewhat familiar with and build that confidence, that will help you to do it in the most appropriate way.
Where would you say that students should go to find online discussion groups that can help them get connected?
I think LinkedIn is really important. I know a lot of people underestimate it because they think, oh, it's just another social network. But a lot of people are using LinkedIn to get references, to make connections, and to just have conversations about their jobs or the jobs that they want. You can go on LinkedIn and find groups that are dedicated to the kind of job that you want, or you can go on LinkedIn and become a part of an alumni group for Emerson. I know for Emerson Department of Journalism, we have an alumni group where we go in and we encourage discussion and we post jobs. So LinkedIn is a really important thing in terms of networking, I feel.
I never knew that about LinkedIn. I've always known of it, and I've just thought, all right, maybe.
Yeah.
But it can really help your resume as well. Can it not? I mean, you're getting more and more involved with people.
Right. I think just seeing the faces of other people in your industry, even if it's just online, is important, because you can shoot them an email if you have them in your network, or you can ask them questions. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, maybe using email or certain technology is impersonal, but you can really write a personal letter to someone asking them for advice, or just if they have a job available within their company. And that's actually a way that I got my job here at Emerson. Was I connected with someone in the HR department through LinkedIn, and they said, oh, wait a second, I've seen your application, why don't you come in? And so
that's great.
I've had first-hand experience.
Yeah.
And I've known people who go on LinkedIn and make connections and ask for recommendations. I give recommendations on LinkedIn to my students. So I really like LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like a very essential tool in the networking game.
Yes. Wow. Another example I think that's helpful, we tell students, is if they're interviewing at a certain organization and they want to know a little bit more about the organization at a personal level, what you can do on LinkedIn, again, is put in that organization and find if there's any alumni who are working there, and then maybe send them a message to ask, how long have you worked there, what kind of work do you do, what do you like about your job, to get a better feel for the company in a pretty unintimidating way, or I'm sure that's the right word, in a very comfortable way.
Would you say that, what would you say impresses employers in terms of referrals?
When someone is referring them to a position, is that what you mean?
Yes, like is references the key for a potential employer? Like, would I want to send references from teachers? Is it, what would you say is the best way to get your foot in the door?
Yeah. References usually don't come until the latter part of the interview, after they've met you. There are some times where people will refer people, and if you know someone who works at a certain organization, or if you know someone who told you about the position in your cover letter, you might reference that and say, John Smith referred me to this position. So it might get their attention. But actual letters of reference that someone is writing about you, or even a letter or some kind of recommendation on LinkedIn, may get looked at further once they've already met with you, it seems.
Would you say the most important part in the beginning is the resume?
Your resume and cover letter are important, but I think the other thing is to follow up with it.
Okay.
So for the ones you're most impressed with or most interested in, to follow up to make sure that they receive the information, that you can start a conversation with them and be called in for the interview.
All right. We were talking earlier about do's and don'ts of group interviews. I've never been in a group interview. I hear that it's a very big thing right now. Do you guys have any tips on the etiquette of group interviews?
Well, I think I've done a group interview once, and I think a tip would be to try and get along with the other people who are in the group interview, because I know employers look at how you interact with other people. If you're being rude or just being mean or rude or impersonal, I think people see your interactions and they kind of judge you on that, because, you know, maybe they haven't asked you any questions yet, but they see the way that you're acting, and that can inform a person.
Your attitude.
Yeah, your attitude.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of individuals in group interviews or even in just single interviews, they want to express their skill set. But how do you balance expressing your skill set with your willingness to learn without seeming unaware or uneducated or uninformed of the most modern stuff, but yet seeming like you don't know it all? How do you balance that?
I'd say one of the most important things, not only in a group interview, but in a normal interview, a one-person interview, is just to be honest about your skill set and what you know. And if you don't know something, you know, maybe you say that you're willing to learn how to do that particular task. I think it's just all about being honest and not pushy or rude. That's kind of...
Yeah. I would agree, and I think it's important to lead with your skills. So you do want to talk about your skills and what you have. If there are things that come up that you're not as familiar with or not as skilled at, again, stressing your eagerness to learn, willingness to pick up new ideas or new information, but also to, again, stress that you do have certain skills and you do feel capable of the position that's at hand.
I know that when I first started Emerson, I really struggled with getting myself out there because I was, you know, from a different country and felt so intimidated by so many of the students that seemed to have known so much. And I really wish that when I had first started, I was more involved and got better network. What advice do you give to the kids that want to put themselves out there but are just struggling with being intimidated, being shy, being afraid?
I'd say that Carol mentioned that starting off with your friends is a really great idea, because you're familiar with them, and then kind of just branching out. As far as feeling intimidated, again, reach out to mentors and people who have done it, and just kind of, you know, get their advice, and their encouragement as well could go a long way in encouraging a young and experienced student to go forth with networking.
Would you agree with that, Carol?
I would, and I would say that we do strongly suggest students come in. That's one of the topics we can cover with them. We can do practice rounds of questions to pretend with them how they might approach someone they want to do networking with, give them suggestions on questions that might be appropriate, how they might respond in those kinds of situations. So hopefully that would also give them some practice and help them feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, that was what I did with one of my mentors. I went to her and I said, I don't know anything, help me, lead me, I'm about to graduate, I need your help. And she really kind of just told me, okay, tell me what you know, be honest, and I'll tell you what you need to learn. And she really kind of guided me.
That's good.
I think in terms of career service, do you think people are sort of apprehensive because it's the process seems so daunting of do I have enough on my resume? Are they going to laugh at me? Are they going to tell me I don't have enough? Do you think that ever comes across to students?
I hope not. I mean, I want to believe that we're approachable and that we have friendly faces who will give them the honest truth, but that will guide them and give them good suggestions. So I would encourage students to come in and talk to us.
I think people tend to be a little more apprehensive too, because in the beginning, you see people around you that seem so confident. You think, oh my God, I'm not up to speed with all of them. I need to be on their level. And I heard someone recently say, your network is your net worth. And it really stuck with me. And I was going to ask you all, do you all believe that that is true?
I think to a point it is. In terms of defining your worth, I think it might be a little extreme, but that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, but I agree, because when you said, you know, you have to have your skills and your knowledge too, not just your network. So I think your network is a little bit more about, or you're more than just your network, is what you've developed and what skills you have.
It's essentially a balancing act of the two.
Yeah.
And would you say, what would you recommend to graduating students? What would your best advice be to someone that's about to enter the workforce?
One thing I would say is that it's very important to remember to stay connected with people. If you have developed some networks, to foster those. It's important to ask someone when you meet with them, is there one more person you can talk to? Can they give you one more name or one more suggestion of a place to go or a person to talk to? So to keep building the network in that way, and stay connected with Emerson. Our office is open all summer. We don't close during the summertime. We see students for life also. So when students graduate, they can still come back and use our services. They can use our services.
I didn't know that.
2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Wow.
A lot of alumni do come back at times when they're changing jobs or thinking about something different. So we are available for students and alum in that way. So just get that message out too, I guess.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's so
there you
good.
go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to help me later on.
Good.
So let me ask you guys something. What would you say, what would you say is the first thing to do when you're trying to secure a job after college?
I'd say that applying to jobs that you just think you're qualified for, some people throw out a lot of great options because they don't think they're qualified. And I'd say that, you know, maybe you're missing a piece of the puzzle in terms of qualification, but still go for that job. Still apply for that job, because you never know. They might want to help you build your skill set. And, you know, a lot of jobs are looking for entry-level, you know, professionals or just somebody who's willing to learn. Don't be afraid to apply for a job. Apply for as many jobs as you want, and when you get an interview, if you don't think you want that job, still go, because it's practice.
Correct. It's
a
another
great
person to
practice.
meet, because you never know where they're going to be next. So right.
Yeah. Especially too, I think in today's job market, it's so competitive. It's been so rough these last few years. What advice do you give to kids that just keep getting rejected? I know that kids tend to get more and more depressed about it. They lose a lot of self-esteem in the job search process. What would you say to them?
You know, I have a deep respect for students who come here and work really hard, because Emerson students are really intelligent, and I think that it is a result of the job market being so bad. It's never because a student is, you know, underskilled. Maybe they don't have enough job experience because they're a student, but I, you know, like to encourage students and say, just get out there and do as much as you possibly can, because you're not the only one who's struggling. This is a town full of college students, and even even people who aren't students looking for jobs. So the job market in Boston is really intense. So also look out into other markets.
Carol, what would you say?
I think the other thing too is that not only is the job market tight, but in the fields that our students are interested in, it's just very competitive to begin with. And it's important for the job seekers to just keep busy. So even if they're not finding success immediately, to volunteer for projects, connect with people and see if there's other things you can do to stay in the field. Again, whether it's, you know, volunteering to help out with someone, or setting up goals of meeting 5 new people in a week, or visiting 2 or 3 different places, whatever it can be to keep you occupied, keep you busy, keep you motivated.
Right.
You
Even doing freelance work or contract
Yeah.
work. A lot of people
Yep.
do contract work, short term, and stuff like that. If you're kind of unemployed and you want a 9 to 5, maybe that's not a reality at the moment, but contract and short term work can really benefit you because it gives you more skills, and it's also something you could put on your resume. And again, connections
Right.
to other people.
Meeting someone who might lead to a different full-time position.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I heard somebody recently say, you know, if you want a job after college, you need to know what your brand is. And I certainly thought about that. I think everybody has a personal mantra or a place of intention that they're coming from. Would you agree with that you need to know what your brand is, or it's about just sort of the work?
Having a brand is such a 2014
Yeah.
marketing
marketing
Yes.
term, but you know, if you want to define your brand and you know, make sure you monitor your Twitter and your LinkedIn and your Facebook, and you know, a lot of people say your social network is your personal brand. Just you know, make it into who you want to convey you are. If that made sense.
No, it does. It does.
And just, you know,
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself,
Yeah.
and watch out for, you know, controversial, you know, topics. You don't want to, you know, talk about your personal life all over Twitter if you have like personal details. Like, be professional if you want that to be your brand.
Well, I don't know if you agree with this, but do you think that it's hard? I think it's hard for a lot of people to sort of separate their Twitter and their Facebook from their personal lives, because they can be personal platforms. So how would you say that they balance having your friends and family on Facebook, but also having your potential employees? How do you do that? I mean, I know that I am very conscious of what I post on Facebook, because you never know who's seeing it. So how would you suggest that students kind of play both sides of the fence?
Sometimes students need to have 2 different accounts.
Okay.
So you might have your own Facebook for your family and friends, and you might have a different Facebook account for more professional things. Or you have Facebook for your personal that is not open to others besides your close friends. And then maybe LinkedIn, having a LinkedIn profile is where you're sharing that with other employers or other people in your network.
Right.
So sometimes even just being cautious of who sees your information and how you can alter that so others don't see it is important.
I absolutely agree. Having 2 Twitter accounts, your professional account, your brand,
Right.
and then your personal account, your friends, your family. Same with Facebook. Maybe you have a professional account and maybe you have a personal account. Maybe you just use LinkedIn for your networking job stuff, and you use Facebook for just family and high school friends or college friends.
You don't have to have all at once happening.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to have everybody in your business.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want people watching, students at Emerson, to know?
Just keep on looking. The internet, there are so many job databases out there that pull the information together, that will pull the information for you together. A lot of the jobs that we pull and that I send out in the newsletter are jobs that come from J-Jobs, Berkeley College job database, and a lot of people just send jobs to me in internships. So, you know, ask the people in your department.
Carol?
Right. I think the other thing too is to make people aware that they can use career services continuously. So if they've started and they want some more help, they can certainly come in and talk with us. If they haven't started yet, doesn't matter, we're still available for them, and that we're available from further on, like we said, in the summers or once they graduate, because it's important to know that there are resources and support here for them.
Now this is a bit different, but just one last question. What would you personally say is the most rewarding part of getting kids networked and getting them out in the field and watching them succeed? What would you say is the most rewarding part of it for you?
For me, and I was telling Carol earlier, you know, when graduation comes around and I hear about students who maybe got a job or an internship that they're really proud of, that's just rewarding. Just hearing that, you know, Emerson students are succeeding, and kind of feel like a little bit of a mama bear. But, you know,
Yeah.
Emerson is a really great place to be, and all of the students should be proud that they're coming to school here.
Carol?
Yeah. It's similar. You know, there are emails or stories we hear from students who let us know what they obtained, which is great to hear. Sometimes we don't always hear those stories, and it's nice to hear those. The other thing I can recall is when we were at the New York Connection trip this year, towards the evening we had a somewhat informal networking event with alumni who were in the New York area. And a visual I saw as I was watching was that there were 7 or 8 tables of students with probably 7 or 8 students at each table with a couple alumni, and just sitting there kind of hunched over chatting with each other, and it was really powerful to see them connecting together and really being engaged in their conversations. So knowing that we can help connect them to other people in their field and really taking advantage of that is very important to see.
Well, I certainly learned a lot. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for talking to me and talking to everyone watching about a topic that really is important and I think sometimes not fully understood. So thank you. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bianca. Congratulations to all graduating students. We hope tonight's show was useful. Thank you for watching Every Woman Has a Story on WEBN. We spoke with Bianca, Sedillos, Jiron, and Carol Spector. If you would like to be a guest on our show or know anyone who would like to tell their story, please email us at ewhastory@gmail.com. I'm Briana Azar. Thank you, and tune in next time.